Welcome back to the John and Linetia Show.
We'd like to thank the Mars rover Curiosity for joining us in the studio the last hour. Told you we didn't go to no Mars.
John, that was a Roomba that you wrote Curiosity on with a black Sharpie.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, we ain't at no Mars.
Thanks, John.
Bull. Bull, we ain't gonna travel. Speaking of traveling, speaking of roving. So there's a few things, like, we're getting more of these new trains on the CTA. These more of these new actually L cars or
the new
rail
cars. Yeah.
And the new ones have all the seats in them basically are front facing or side facing, I should say. They face each other.
Right.
This is something that, like 10 years ago, that was put into motion. And they're coming out and, surprise, surprise, things have changed. And, L riders, a lot of them are kind of upset. They don't like what is going on.
Even though they complained that they wanted some upgrades.
It's one of those things. I think people just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
I have a problem. I have a slight problem with it.
Okay.
But it's a problem of planning, and I knew it when it first happened, and the problem is when these L cars were first ordered, you had people running the CTA like Frank Cruci, who didn't really ride the CTA and really didn't understand the practical aspect of things. So what they've done is you take the regular, chairs, the regular seating in the CTA trains, and you basically spin them around. You put them against the sides of the train, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the problem, okay? For as long as I've been riding CTA, which probably, when I was a teenager going to college, okay? The little bucket seats that they got on the trains, if you were thin and a little lighter than average, you can fit on them no problem. But if you were of average girth, or of course very overweight, you were bleeding over the seat, okay? And on all of these trains, you can look down the aisles, and basically, you've got seats 2 and 2 and 2 next to each other. Whoever's in the window seat is basically taking up one whole seat plus a little bit of the next seat. And so the aisle seat, you always see people where basically half their asses were hanging off the chair, okay? Now you put these things next to each other, okay? And you don't widen the buckets in the seats. You don't make them wider. This is what I call Cruci's folly, okay? Frank Cruci, who's a daily flack, okay? He wasn't any kind of a transit expert. He knew dick about anything being on the CTA. Claimed to ride it occasionally, but he was just a bureaucrat pushing paper, okay? God, maybe take a look at things. And you look at it and you go, these seats aren't big enough for the average person. And now you're trying to stack them all next to each other. So that is the only problem I have with it. They call this configuration, they compare it to New York subways, okay? New York trains are wider and they're longer, okay? So you have more room to, walk around, okay? But the other thing is the seats in the New York trains are benches. They're bench seats. That's what the CTA needed to do. They needed to put bench seats in, not these buckets, because now you're basically going to have a lot of wasted seats because of average to fat people.
Well, I haven't had the pleasure of experiencing the new seats yet, because they're only on certain lines. I know they're going to be on the red line in the fall. I rarely get on the red line, a.k.a. Soul Train, heading toward 95th Street, so I probably won't get a chance to do that. I ride the brown line to work, so, I haven't had a chance to experience. I ride the Metro, and the Metro seats are very comfortable. They're very roomy. And you fall asleep in them very fast.
Yeah, but they're rows 2 by 2 up and down the roads,
that's
right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How come they didn't take an idea from the Metro and kind of do it that way?
But that's the way it was in the CTA. That's what with the older cars, is you've got them 2x2. The old idea was we want to cram more standing people into these cars. Okay, but my whole point of it, I didn't mind that as much. I don't mind the fact that they've got these, New York style. But to me, these idiots, you need bench seats, okay? Because I don't care what you say. If you've got what looks like, against one of the walls, if you've got 10, let's say, of these current bucket seats, you're not going to fit 10 people in there unless you're talking about small kids or whatever. If you had the same exact space for a bench seat, I bet you'd get 8 people there, okay? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I don't know. I think they should have, I know they're testing now, but they probably should have tested all lines and then had some people do a survey, a short one, like while they were on the train or when they got off.
The problem, they did that. Like they did a test last year, okay? But it was too late. They weren't doing a test thinking, well, let's see what happens and maybe we'll build or maybe we'll change things. It was just that, we're going to test and we're going to get some ideas on aesthetics is what it was. This kind of thing it was. And people said it last year during the test. It was like, you can barely fit people into these seats now. And then why is it? Because you can't hang off the side.
I saw one person say that they'll be able to read the person sitting next to them text.
You know what?
I was like,
rush
wow.
hour on the CTA, you do that too. You're pressed up against people's bodies. You're, taking a look and seeing what they're watching on a DVD player or looking on their iPhone or.
I mean,
phone.
but these new seats though, they're saying that people's crotches are right in front of them, and they don't like that. And
well, yeah, I mean, you still had those facing seats also on the current CTA. I mean, you know what? Whatever. To me, that's not an issue. That is just, to me, the silly issue is why they decided to use the same darn bucket seats that they're continuing to use.
And aren't they stopping some of the lines, too? They're stopping some of the lines and supposedly adding more trains and buses to certain lines, too, to help with overcrowding.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the interesting thing is the current plan for the CTA is rather than jamming more people on the buses and trains, spreading things out and actually adding more cars and buses.
And even if we don't like it, what's the other alternative? You have to drive.
Right.
Which is not good unless you're a rich person. You drive to work every day. I mean, everything is not going to be comfortable. You do want to be comfortable on a train, but sometimes you're not on there that long.
I think in a lot of cases people will get used to it, but I still think that it was a mistake to continue to use the same seating, the same seats that we've been using, that the CTA had been using. You needed to put in benches, and it's ridiculous.
And these cars are going to stay there for a long time, aren't they? They're not
You get new cars, they're going to last in decades, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Before there's a new upgrade.
Yeah. So we'll be dead. We'll be dead. We'll be right back after these words from Jive Ass Turkey. If you want the tastiest, meatiest turkey around, stuff some Jive Ass Turkey in your mouth, dog. It's the best turkey you can get. Shit.
You're listening to the John and Linetia Show.